Yeah, so I've been saving my lasagna since the weekend to have it in a sandwich. Yesterday I had a spaghetti carbonara sandwich. I've started just putting leftovers in a sandwich.
We're carbo loading for winter.
Because I'm out here, so like bringing a knife and fork's just
a nightmare.
A pain.
That's why sandwiches. I can actually feel the warmth coming through my...
Yeah, they get quite hot, those ones.
Nice. So this is an absolutely stunning spot. So can you tell us a little bit about where we are in Wales right now?
So we are in Abergwesyn, which is kind of mid-Wales. So this is a group of 7 interconnected commons, so one mass of land essentially, which spans 16,500 acres, or just shy of 7,000 hectares, or 70 kilometres squared. So it's absolutely humongous.
Whichever your preferred metric is, you know.
Yeah.
We got it all over there.
Miles? Don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone works in square miles anymore.
No.
So, because I'm always curious, what exactly are commons? Because I'm always a bit, who owns them, but also then how does it work with you? Because I know there's tenancies, but how does that work for you then? Or how do they work in general, actually?
Yeah, so we are the landowner essentially, and on each common, if you buy a farm next to the common, that comes with a suite of rights.
Right.
So that might be cutting and baling heather, for instance, or cutting and baling bracken. Also, you can cut peat, which nobody does these days really, but it's an option. Well, the most typical thing that locals use this for is grazing rights. Right. So you get a certain number of grazing rights per house, basically. So that might be 200 ewes, and then that can be transferred into 6 cattle or 20 ponies. In England, it works slightly differently. They specify how many cattle and sheep you can have. But so I have something like over 100 active graziers. Wow. So they're not tenants.
Right.
They just have a right to graze the land. So the word common really means that it's a shared space.
Yeah.
So it's also open access land. So anyone at any time can walk wherever they like over the whole commons.
Yeah. In terms for you then, because a lot of the work then I guess is coordinating and collaborating with your graziers then to make sure how is that, in general, are they, is it difficult at times, or do you think most people have the kind of common goal of looking after the commons?
Yeah, I think I've had to slightly shift my way of thinking. I come from London, I'm not from a farming background. To be honest, when I started this role, I knew next to nothing about farming. So just by having interest and empathy, I've kind of got to know them on a personal level, and I have huge respect and admiration for what they do. It's incredible. They're such hard workers. I mean, put in 14-hour days easily, they'd sniff an 8-hour day and think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's been tricky for me because I come from away, so naturally I'm an outsider coming into this space and trying to convince people to do certain things which goes against often their culture and way of being. Farmers have to be efficient at what they do, much like any other job, right? We're all looking for ways to make things quicker and easier in any job we do, and they're very good at that. However, often that comes at a cost to biodiversity, which is where I come in. But it's been amazing to get to know them.
I guess you've mentioned coming from London, from outside. Personally, but I've got a bigger question to ask you. But first, I would like to know a little bit about your career path. How did you go from London? What job were you doing there to end up on Abergwesyn Commons as manager? What were you doing before, and then what made you sort of have that change of career?
Yeah, so I used to work in corporate recruitment. Come here. And so it was very corporate. I kind of just thought it was the only way to work, really.
Hello, Ruth.
Down.
Good girl.
And then I had this kind of growing interest in just being outdoors to start with. And then slowly but surely, I became obsessed with birds.
Yeah. I know, because I always text you a little bit whenever there's birds. And as a quick aside, before I ask my bigger question,
Yeah.
the buzzards and the red kites, I don't know if the camera's picking them up. Hopefully we can put in some B-roll here. But the kites and the buzzards circling over the valley there are incredible. I have to, and I know I'm biased because I'm Welsh, but red kites hold a special place in my in my heart. Even though I see them all the time, I still think they're a stunning bird. I always say nothing quite flies like a red kite. The question I was going to ask you, because I guess this is more as someone who's moved in, and you've talked a lot about this, I guess, the culture around here, but in Wales and generally, how important do you think it is to understand not only the farming, the culture of farming, but the culture of rural Wales, and how have you found that?
Oh my God.
Moving forward?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I mean, I guess I come from England, London, where no one's really proud of what they do or where they come from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you come here and people feel like a genuine spiritual connection to the land. And people are so reliant on the land, which is amazing. And then there's, being Welsh, which... Yeah, it's taken a while to get my head around because I come from a very different perspective. But all I can do is have empathy and respect, and it's my home now.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm trying my best.
If it's possible, I anoint you with the honorary Welshhood. I think you always do send me a few voice notes in Welsh. Opening in Welsh, and that's. I think as long as there's a healthy respect for the language and the culture, I think people are generally welcoming. I think there have been instances where projects have been done to communities, if I can say it like that, rather than with and for communities, and I think that's a big difference and something that I know you're very passionate about. But back to your love of birds.
Yes. Do you want me to continue on my career path?
Yeah, well, actually, go back to your career path, because I am interested, because you've got you're doing a few different jobs and volunteer roles at the moment. But go back to your career path on there.
So, I became obsessed with birds. I bought a camera, and that really helped me with my kind of ID. And I think mentally I was in a bit of a weird place at the time. And so that really helped me and my mental health. And then, it became an obsession. So I was like, screw this, I'm going to make this a career. So in a big dramatic moment, I handed in my notice.
Did you do the classic slam on the table?
If only,
I'm never coming back again.
I'm done with this. But I started a master's in ecology and evolutionary biology, which is a full wanky title.
Do you want to know my full wanky title?
Go on.
Ecology and environmental biology was my undergrad, and then my master's was environmental change, impact and adaptation.
Oh my God.
Oh, they love it, don't they?
Yeah. Why such long titles? But basically it was ecology.
Yeah.
Which I loved and was great, but alongside that, I did some volunteering with the RSPB at Rainer Marshes, which is one of their flagship reserves, which just shook my world, to be honest. Absolutely stunning. And then after my master's, I did an internship with the RSPB, and where I learned a lot about how to run a nature reserve. And then from that, I went to live on a tern colony up in Ynysmon, Anglesey.
Nice, yeah.
Which, also was like this weird spiritual connection, living and sharing a space with these incredible rare birds. And you feel a real duty to do your bit. And then since then, everything I live and breathe is about saving nature to the best of my ability, but whilst also being realistic about it, I think, and bringing people along. I think a lot of nature people sometimes are very quick to judge and think their way is the right way. But in order to make change, we need to bring along people, right? Anyway, so I got this job, which is amazing. And then alongside this, I do UK for Nature stuff, where I met you.
Met me, and now look at us. On a hill, having a sandwich together.
Yeah, I'm so glad you finally got to come here.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Because I was going to... So, like you said, I think historically we have been, as a sector, quite tunnel vision about how things must be achieved, and I think we've recognised, probably only in the last 10 years possibly, that we haven't really been going about it the right way, and we haven't been bringing people with us, and so we need to do more. Like you said, it's not necessarily dampening our ambition, but it's realising that there are multiple ways that ambition can be achieved, and we're much more likely to achieve it if we work with people, with communities. I used to do a lot of work, my family are in development and construction. Again, quite a historically damaging industry, but there are ways to work with it and address the housing crisis. But if we're always at each other's throats, we're never going to bring together that way of being together. You know, it's going to be very like, don't tell me what to do, you're awful, and bringing it together.
Totally. And I think historically it has been like that. It's been very us and them. And still I'm dealing with tainted relationships from, you know, a generation ago where the National Trust have been, you know, this evil character. But I do think most, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but most conservation organisations now are moving towards the right direction.
I think the ones, at least I'm aware of and work with, I think everyone has finally understood that to actually achieve nature's recovery, we have to work beyond our physical, geographical borders, but also our social borders, you know, with people who tend to, you know, the amount of times you go to a room and everyone nods along. And sometimes I almost want to be questioned on what I'm saying. I want someone to say, that's all good and well and good, but I'm trying to pay for my family, or I'm trying to achieve this. How do we bring it together? Rather than sometimes you sit in a room, everyone goes, yeah, great. But I want to be challenged, because I also think we haven't always thought everything through as much as that. And I think with some of the schemes going on now in Wales, we've seen that process happen where we've taken the time to develop schemes in collaboration. I'm not saying they're perfect on anybody's front, but I do feel like they are a genuine coming together of ideas, and there will always be some level of compromise. And I think we have, you know, I was talking about SFS, the Sustainable Farming Scheme. I think it's getting there. I still would like to see stronger safeguards for nature and nature recovery, but I see it's moving in the right direction at the moment.
On that note, I think what you said there is spot on. Having healthy challenge is more productive than directing. So I've worked quite hard to build relationships with the farmers I work with, just to have a, you know, often quite a banterous relationship.
Go for a pint, go for a cuppa.
You know, they'll say, no, that's not going to work for me. And one of my farmers said to me the other day, which really kind of rung true, is that any decisions we make as landowner, the only person that's going to not negatively benefit, the only person that's going to suffer financially is them. And that made me think, we do need to.
We need
really
proper support schemes. We need proper support schemes and proper long-term support schemes, so people have the confidence to transition into that. But I want to bring us back to your birds, because you're here now, and a bird in particular, one bird in particular that I know you're quite passionate about, the curlew, or a gulvanir in Cymraeg. And how is the curlew doing overall? Let's start there. How's the curlew doing overall? I've not heard one. Are they here at the moment? Or
no, they're not here at the moment. So they breed in typically upland landscapes in the spring and summer months, and then they go to coastal grounds in the winter. So they're not here at the moment. They are, in truth, doing pretty terribly, unfortunately. So in Wales, good. Yes, sit. So the curlew in Wales is predicted to be extinct as a breeding species by 2033.
Wow.
So they are just about clinging on. And if I'm to be totally cynical, I think they don't stand a chance. But we have to try.
We have to give them every chance to have.
Totally.
To have a chance.
And also they represent this relationship between, they breed typically on farmland, most typically on kind of hill farms. And they kind of represent that relationship between farming and the intensification of farming in recent years and nature. But yeah, overall they're doing pretty terribly. We've got about 400, 500 pairs left,
Yeah.
but since I've been working with them, I mean, wow, what a bird.
Yeah.
What a bird.
Down you go a second. That'll definitely make the cut.
Right, Root,
Um,
chill. Sit, spin. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So, final question. I know it's quite an emotive year this year with the weather we've been having. You know, for those who don't know, Wales they declared drought conditions, or at least near drought conditions, in quite a few parts of Wales. Obviously, you working mostly in the uplands, your peat sort of area. Tell us a little bit about the year you've had with work, and I guess one incident in particular that you've had, and where that's heading as a trajectory with climate change.
So you're alluding to the fires that we had back in the summer. So the fire spread through 5,000 hectares of land. Like, that is a humongous piece of land, and went through 1,500 hectares of the land that I manage. So it kind of ripped through all of our peat restoration, re-wetting work that we've been doing. Not ideal. And then also, and more upsetting for me, is that we have kind of the last few pairs of breeding golden plover, and it went straight the way through their breeding grounds, which they're probably doing worse than curlew, to be honest, but no one talks about them. So that was gutting. I don't know what happened with them. I don't know how they got on, but they might be back next year. Anyway, the point of that is, the more we have fires on in this upland landscape, the more it kind of fundamentally changes the ecology up here. So there's a grass species called Millennia, which is native here, and it holds its nutrients in the roots. So when the fire comes on, it gets rid of everything, and then the Millennia comes back because it grows really fast and it holds its nutrients down in the roots and just takes over everything. As you know, we walked through a whole patch of Millennia. They're horrible to walk through. Nothing else finds a space to come through, and the only way you can control the Millennia is with cattle grazing. Yeah. She's all right, actually. It's through cattle grazing, which we're trying to push towards, but obviously it needs to be in collaboration with commoners.
Yeah.
Sit.
Good girl. Yeah, I guess everything is changing, and given that the uplands and peat in particular is a big focus of governments, or at least on paper is a big focus of governments. You know, it's kind of recognised that it's a huge carbon store, it's a huge water store, but if we're not that, I mean, it's a good carbon and water store when it's in good condition. When it's not in those good conditions, it's not performing its role. So what work have you been doing up here with the peat what is peat re-wetting?
So peat is a type of soil, I guess, which is really wet, so it doesn't, the vegetation doesn't properly decompose, only partly decomposes. So it holds shitloads of carbon. And we have areas that are 8 meters deep, right? Which have taken at the very least, 8,000 years to form. Obviously, climate change and fire is having a massive impact on that. So we're trying to re-wet the landscape and give peat the best possible chance to form, essentially.
Finally, because I asked every guest this, if you had one message, you know, to leave people with, what gives you hope for the future of nature, what would you say?
I think that we are, as conservation people, moving in the right direction by doing two things: focusing on empathy and working with people, and secondly, looking at landscape scale. So moving from working in nature reserves to looking at farming and landscapes and people and all how we use that land. And I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I am hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing ourselves as part of the jigsaw of solutions, not the only solution there is, I think is a really important shift that we're having.
Yeah.
So on that note, diolch yn fawr I ti. Thank you very
Diolch
much
yn
for
fawr.
coming. I finished my sandwich because I was
Is your
enjoying
tea
listening
cold?
to you talk. That's a little bit warm, so cheers. Iechyd da.
Cheers.